Guys, if in doubt, zoom out. I think it's time to look at the bigger picture with BTC. Are we about to go into a bear market right now? Is this a fake out? Are we about to go into a bull run? So let's get into it. We've been talking about this for some time, right? It was the top last cycle. Is it the top this cycle? The SMC bot has flagged a yellow monthly candle, a yellow monthly candle, and again, it's flashed a yellow monthly candle, a yellow monthly candle that just happens to be in the same M pattern formation at the same resistance that we topped last cycle, right? Top one, top two. Are we repeating history? Because it looks very, very similar to me. And I talked about this in January, right? When Bitcoin first hit 100K, I posted in my Discord, in my private Discord, saying, look, I think we're going to come down to this support here, probably around 70K, 80K. Then I think the next time we tap this top yellow line, I think we're going to repeat what happened last cycle, and then we're going to go into a bear market. It's actually crazy how that played out to the T. Everyone was getting a little bit bullish when we first hit 100K. So I posted in my Discord saying, look, trade safe, guys. Pigs get slaughtered. When things are pumping, everyone gets very bullish, very greedy. And when we first went up to 100K, altcoins started to really rally. Sui hit an all-time high. And everyone was getting a bit frothy, and I just posted saying, look, the direction I'm hoping for the rest of the year is a pullback to support, which seemed crazy at the time, right? To go from 100K, we had President Trump was talking about Bitcoin, BlackRock was shilling Bitcoin. But I was looking for a pullback to support and then a final leg into the top of the bull market, into big short positions, which I'm taking now. I'm taking short positions at the moment. Not financial advice. You should always do your own research. And it's absolutely crazy how that played out. And, we came back to the support, exactly back to this support line down here, which is where I took my last longs, right? I took my last big longs here. I think we bought some spot Solana here. I think Solana was around $100. And Sui, we bought some more. I think we bought more Sui down here. I'm not too sure. And then it rallied up to the top yellow, right? And this is where I said it's potentially top of the market. We did try to break above, and I said, look, this is the first time we've tried to break above this. We could move higher here, but I want to see monthly closes above. And then we closed back below, and it looks like it was a scam wick, guys. It looks like we are continuing to repeat last cycle. So technically, where do we go from here? So if we are where we were last cycle, right? So if this yellow candle is this yellow candle, then we come back down to the white line. So back down to the white line, the bull run trend line. What happened last cycle? We broke well below the bull run trend line. We went straight through it, and then we came back for a retest. Now this is called returning to the scene of the crime, which happens quite often. And this is where a lot of traders will short and sell, okay? So a lot of people actually wait for the retest. It's a classic move that happens in investing. They'll say, okay, the bull run is over. I'm going to wait for the retest, and then I'm going to look for that opportunity to exit. And it also can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the bulls and the degens that sold up here and tried to jump the gun like we are, who ended up being right, end up taking a little trade here, so they end up buying for the retest and then they end up selling. So it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that would take us below the bull run trend line if we repeated history, maybe to 90K, maybe 80K, and then we come back and retest that bull run trend line, and then we start the actual bear market and look for a new floor, or try to find out where the floor is, right? Now, it's not going to be able to get away with us. The bull run the next bull run is not going to be able to start without us getting a buy signal from the SMC bot. So I'm not panicking. We're not going to get a V-shaped recovery. What you'll find we're likely not going to get a V-shaped recovery. What you'll find when you go into a bear market is people just can't believe the prices. Like when Bitcoin goes back to 70K, you'll see KOLs, celebrities, just posting on socials saying, I'm buying the dip here, I'm buying the dip here. But it's never V-shaped recovery like this, okay? I'm not saying that's out of the question, anything's possible, but more often than not, you do not V-shaped recovery into a bear market. It takes 12 months from the top to the bottom to get into an accumulation area, and I plan to do the same thing. So I'm going to block out all the noise, everyone who's in disbelief that altcoins are down 70%, well, I've got news for you. It's probably going to be one of the worst altcoin bear markets we've ever seen in history. So even easier this cycle for altcoins, because last cycle I was kind of waiting for 90%. I didn't really want to buy anything that wasn't 90% down. And then I was looking for, 95% down, which we ended up getting on a lot of altcoins. This cycle, very easy. Very easy. I don't think there's going to be hardly any altcoins that are not down at least 90%. And I think we're going to see many down 99%. And let me tell you, buying an altcoin that's down 70% and 95% is a completely different world, right? If you bought an altcoin that's down 70% and then someone else is buying when it's down 99%, you're still around, I think you're between 80 and 90% down on your 70% off buy, right? So if you put 10K in at 70% off, you still might have 1K at the actual bottom. So I think it's going to be a really exciting bear market if you're an accumulator like me, and this is where you like to buy, right? Most of my money was made down here, buying down here. Most of my money was made buying down here, and again selling in the bull run. And I plan to do the exact same thing next cycle. The cool thing about this markets in general is that humans don't change, psychology doesn't change. People get bullish on green candles when the market's pumping, and they get bearish on red candles when the market's dumping. And if we can understand that, then we can leverage it. And now we have all of these tools that I'm about to talk about in the video that make it even easier for us, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's do, let's play the advocate. Let's say this is a massive fake out and we break above this. Well, as soon as we get a monthly close above this yellow, history's changed, right? Until then, nothing's changed. Until we get a yellow close above this, nothing's changed. We are repeating the same as last cycle, and it looks like we're about to come down and start a bear market. So I am shorting right now. Am I shorting with my entire portfolio? Absolutely not, guys. I'm taking small bets here and there. Why? Well, it's like poker, right? If you go all in a hand and, you might have the strongest hand going, right? You might have a royal flush and, someone has a better royal flush than you. It's you're out of the game, right? If you go all in, you're out of the game. Whereas if you're taking small bets and small bets and small bets, even when you've got a strong hand, even when you believe your hand is extremely strong, as long as you're taking small bets, if you're wrong, which I could definitely be at any point whatsoever, I still live to fight another day, right? I still get to trade another day. So this is the second top that I was talking about, and I posted here back in January. This is when we took a lot of profits off the table. Solana was at all-time high, Sui was at all-time high, and I posted saying Sui's topped, check back in 3 months, buy alert. So we bought Sui at 0.85, and then we sold it around 4.50, and we ended up taking some shorts on Sui. That also paid out. We also had this yellow monthly candle from the SMC bot, which is very rare for it not to mark the top on the monthly. It's very rare to get a monthly like this and it not actually mark the top. So I do think that we're not going to get back over this level of somewhere between $4 and $4.40. If we did push up here, this is kind of where I'd be looking to add some pretty big shorts in size, but I'd be very surprised. I mean, look at this wick, guys, that we had down here. It's basically a heads up saying this is where we're going. When you wick down like this, you normally come back and revisit these wicks. It might not be next month, it might not be in December, but January, February, March, I'd be very surprised if we're not revisiting these wicks down here. And I think we're personally going to go lower, because this cycle there is 30 million altcoins, and last cycle there was 3,000 altcoins. It's a completely different market. There's liquidity grabs everywhere. Even Arthur Hayes is shilling Zcash now. Everyone is shilling Zcash, trying to make some last minute gains. We're seeing so many end of market signs here. I think we're going to go into a savage bear market. Just my opinion, not financial advice. And hey, if the market does crash, it's another bull run for me personally, right? Because I'm trying to make 10x on the way down and 10x on the way up. So if I'm trading with $100,000 and I'm short in the market, I'm trying to turn that into $1 million. And guess what I'm going to do with that $1 million? I'm going to buy the bear market with that USDT if I win, right? If I'm right and the market does crash here. XRP, we had another two yellow topping candles, so great buy signal down here. A lot of people made 10x. It tends to be quite a common profit taking area, 10x, especially when there's a lot of whales who put $1 million into XRP. They put $10 million into XRP. So, the whale who put $1 million in here has made 10 million. The whale who put 10 million in here has made $100 million in just over a year. It's free money. People are going to take profits. Even the CEO of XRP is selling his own token, right? So you can't really get any better information than that. Two yellow monthly candles on the on XRP. I would be very surprised if we close monthlies above this level. So we're looking at 302 to 305. If we do push up to that level, this is where I'll be looking to place some very big shorts. So when we get to a stronger point, like if we get back to heavy resistance, I will take bigger size. Where we are now, obviously, we're still in the danger zone for short squeezes from market makers. They love to short squeeze altcoins, guys. They don't want you short in here. They don't want you, if we are going to crash here, they don't want to pay out hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in shorts. So you can be susceptible to squeezes. So yeah, I'm keeping my bet small, but still quite decent size. If we do tank, it can turn into a substantial amount. If we push higher, I will look for new entries. Bitcoin. We had a yellow weekly candle flash here and another yellow weekly candle flash here. So I think we are at least going to retest this bull run trend line here. Last time we had the yellow, this is where we took some profits. And, I said pigs get slaughtered. I think we're going to come back down to this trend line. And we did, and we bounced here. The question is, look, we had this other yellow signal here. I said, look, this might be the top of the market. And the question is, I think we're going to come back to this white line regardless. The question is, are we going to bounce off of this white line temporarily? And how soon are we going to get there, right? Are we going to come down here and have some sort of Santa rally? And, there's going to be a Santa rally pitch. Or are we going like this, for example? Or are we going to tank to the downside as we did last cycle? So last cycle, what we did is we just went straight through this line. And obviously we're repeating last cycle very closely. So we went straight through this line. We came back. Let me do this with the other arrow here. We went straight through this line. Let me do it like this. We went straight through this line. We came down to 80K roughly. And then we bounced back up, back to the scene of the crime. And then we started the real bear market. So are we about to repeat history, or are we going to get a Santa rally into December? The reason I think we're more likely to see this is because of how the stock market has reacted and how gold has reacted. Now, Bitcoin was doing pretty well, and I was posting around saying, look, 16K guys to 125K, it's not the worst bull run, okay? People bought Bitcoin. If you bought Bitcoin at 16K, you now have 120, well, at the top you had 125K, happy days, right? Solana was $8, it went to $250, okay? Over a 25x, 2,500%. It's not been bad. What made it look bad is gold. Gold went up $10 trillion in a single year. That's insane. Bitcoin only needed $1 trillion, just 10% of that gold increase. Now, gold went up $10 trillion with BlackRock saying, sell some Bitcoin and sell some gold and buy Bitcoin, just at least hedge. Now, gold has even started to correct, and that money is still not come in to Bitcoin. And I think people are starting to wake up and realize that, okay, if the money's not coming into Bitcoin when it crashed, where is it going? The stock market has just continued to go up to all-time highs. So we can imagine that some of that gold money has gone back into the Mag 7, right? We've just seen a lot of the Google, Nvidia hitting all-time highs. So we can clearly see that it's coming into the stock market and not into Bitcoin after all of these entities and Fidelity and BlackRock have been advising clients to buy gold, and independent financial advisors have been selling it. The banks have been buying gold. So when the banks had the opportunity to buy Bitcoin, they didn't. They bought gold. And I think people are starting to realize that maybe this is predominantly retail that have been buying, and maybe institutions aren't going to buy Bitcoin here. The banks were given permission way too late to buy, in my opinion here, right? the BlackRock got in, the ETFs got in, retail we've been in for forever, and all of a sudden the banks get to buy at all-time high, and pump our bags. I don't think that's not how the banks work, right? So this is where I'm leaning to. Is this guaranteed? No, right? This might be I would lean towards a 60% chance of this happening. Why? We still have a lot of powerful people marketing Bitcoin. We still have the president, the SEC, BlackRock, Fidelity. We still have a lot of people. And if it comes down to 90K, if we come down here to 100K to 90K, there could be a lot of marketing here. There could be a lot of marketing here that they try to push that November is going to be the month or December is going to be the month. If we lose this white line, in my opinion, it's completely over. So it's quite a nice trade. We're either going to bounce here or we're going to break through it. So that's kind of how I will look at it. So yeah, really, really interesting. I think this is probably the more likely case because this is what happened last cycle and how similar we've been following the previous cycle. The fact that the NASDAQ has just ran away from us, the NASDAQ has just gone up like 27% in a very short amount of time. The S&P is up 42% and Bitcoin has just been going sideways. It doesn't scream suppression to me. They would have let it go, in my opinion, by now because we're getting closer and closer to the end of the market. The higher the stock market goes, the more likely it is to correct aggressively. And when the stock market comes down, what do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin? So the fact that we've deviated away from the M2, we've deviated away from gold, away from the stock market, I think Bitcoin is going to have a very, very bad bear market. I originally thought we might hold support at 70K. If this is the top, I think we go much lower than 70K. I'm going to know exactly where because we have phenomenal tools that we use. And I know a lot of you guys can't afford these tools. They're quite expensive. I mean, Nansen is like $1,000 a month for the pro version. But if you want to, I'm going to keep you guys updated with what I'm doing. So, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe. Let me know your comments as well. Let me know what your targets are. Do you think we'll hold 70K? Do you think we're going to go into a bull run rally? This is where I'm looking to buy in the bear market. And as I explained earlier, where has most of my money been made? Buying here, buying here. Actually, here is the hardest time to make money. Here is the hardest time to make money. How many people do you see on socials losing? Just got liquidated. All of my cross margin liquidated. I'm out of the game. I'm giving up. It's not the time. It's not the time. It's the time to take profits up here. It's the time to take profits up here. But every day, every week, people are saying, what's the next gem? What's the next runner? Well, the runners were here. The runners were here, right? Most altcoins went up 20, 30x from here. Sorry, much more last cycle. Here, 20, 30x from here. That's where I am focused. That's where, and if you don't have any stable coins down here, what are you going to do, right? If all your stable coins have been lost up here looking for every single trade, looking for every meme coin, aping into every new protocol. Look at XPL, right? It's like down 80, 90% after everyone was saying it was the next best thing. Projects don't tend to make it up here. They tend to be exit liquidity grabs. Nearly all of the projects that launched recently have been exit liquidity grabs. Down here is where I'm looking to make the generational wealth. And the more stable coins I can make shorting by shorting the market, and the more stable coins I can hold. So I've held my stable coins that I've sold. So when we took profits from Render here, we took more profits from Render and Solana here. Those stable coins have just been sitting in a vault, just waiting for the bear market. And I do think that is going to pay off in time. It's not easy. Believe me, it's not easy. I feel to really pull a lot of it out and take some big shorts, but that would be going against my strategy. And I could end up losing. Right, what if I pull out a lot of those stable coins to start taking ridiculously big shorts on Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, SUI, and then we do this and I'm wrong, I'm wrecked, right? I don't have that capital because I got greedy, right? So it's trying to control your own greed. And those stables, if my plan works out right, are going to be buying into a bear market like this. And I really do think these tools are phenomenal, right? We can clearly see here diminishing gains. A high here, look, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. I keep seeing people referring to these charts as, oh, we haven't broken up yet. We haven't broken up yet. Am I the only one who's seeing that this is diminishing and the returns are going to diminish? over time, right? Bitcoin's market cap is not what it was last cycle, the cycle before. It's very easy to move a market cap from 50 billion, 20 billion, 10 billion. It's now 2.5 trillion. Okay, and the returns are likely going to get less and less explosive as it becomes bigger and it starts to trade more like a stock over time. These blue zones are where I'm looking to accumulate. Now, look how phenomenal this data has been. Even in the early stages of Bitcoin, it was phenomenal. And here again, and notice how long it is, guys. This time frame was January. So January 2015 all the way to October 2015. So do you see what I said earlier about people like, I'm buying the dip here, I'm buying the dip here, I'm buying the dip here, and then it comes down horrifically and they're like, I have no more cash to buy the dip. You start to see those memes going around on social, buy the dip with what? There's no rush in the bear market. There really is no rush. You normally bottom for month after month after month after month, and you tend to get the worst fear and news alerts around the bottom because that's where retail really capitulate. These blue zones is where some of my normie friends, even some big DJs that were in my group, right? Some big DJs were in my group, were selling in this blue zone, saying, I'm getting out. Someone in my community sold a lot of Bitcoin at the actual bottom and left the group, and they were trading like retail. They hadn't sat and studied market cycles. They didn't understand on-chain data, and that happens so much. You won't believe more people will sell Bitcoin near the bottom than they will now, right? Because of the hope, because they're so convinced that we're going to 200k. How could Tom Lee be wrong buying here? So this is what I'm looking for, this blue zone down here. And it's not just this indicator. Again, we have the NUPL phenomenal indicator. I've talked about this on the channel quite a few times. You could give this to an 11-year-old and you could say, look, buddy, when you see the green, press sell. When you see the red, press buy. And that 11-year-old would have probably outperformed most of the market. Right, if they had a bag of $1 million, you gave them a bag of 11 million Bitcoin and you said, look, never press this button unless these two things happen, they would have outperformed most of the market. This is why I love this indicator. You buy in the red, you sell in the green. You buy in the red, you sell in the green. You buy in the red, you sell in the green. It's not complicated. And along with this, phenomenal confluence for time in the bottom of the market. Time in the top, not so easy, right? Very, very hard to time the top. Time in the bottom of the market, super easy. We even have this bot that's going to tell us buy. So I'm hopefully going to be buying before the buy signal, okay? So my aim is to actually buy the bottom. The buy signal flashes a little bit late. I say a little bit late. It flashed around 20k, 23k. So you're not going to be disappointed, but it's also a heads up to say things are really about to start escalating here. And this might be a signal for me to maybe increase my long positions or maybe look for some new long positions. But it's kind of the heads up to say the market's about to start. It's not going to time the bottom, but the bright green indicator on the SMC bot has been getting better at time in the bottom. And I am also going to use that for confluence. I've talked about that on the channel before, but if you don't know what that is, there's a playlist on my YouTube channel called the SMC bot, where you can see how it works, all the different features it does. Phenomenal indicator. Where are we on the CVDD? This is also a phenomenal indicator. This is more precise, so I'm really interested to see where we come this cycle because the precision on this is insane. It's the final scam wick that comes down to the orange, right? It's the final scam wick here that came down to the orange. So whereas these are more like you're in accumulation phase, I guess the red, we could argue, is quite precise. But even the red here still dropped down to here, right? So this is more precise. This is more accumulation phase, which is great because it's like, hey, you're in the bear market now. You've probably got a few months of accumulation before we start to rally. This is insane because if this repeats history, this almost gives you the bottom of the market. So I'm really interested in taking a long position when we come down to this orange line. See here, came down to the orange line, exact bottom, exact bottom, exact bottom. The question is, are we going to hit this again? More people are looking at this, but it's not super cheap data. So I don't see lots of KOLs looking at this. I don't see lots of retail looking at this, to be honest. So I kind of like that. I like data that's not accessible by everyone, similar to why I love Nansen, especially pro Nansen. I'm seeing data that hardly anyone is seeing, right? So it's going to be interesting to see where we are. If we don't come below this orange line again, which I do think is possible, this is suggesting the current floor of this is around 40k, 42k at the moment. So this is suggesting that we're never going to drop below 42k again. If we were to run this, I might even run it through some AI algorithms and see what it predicts. But if we were to run this, I think it's going to push up to 50k before we tap it. Maybe 50k. It depends how fast. If the banks are planning to buy Bitcoin, they really want a fast crash here, because the longer they leave this just chilling and hanging out, the higher the floor could potentially be. And I'm pretty sure the banks don't want to be buying in at 70, 80k. There is an argument that 70k could be the floor, but I just think if 125k was the top, it's not enough, right? If we look at previous cycles, last cycle we crashed by 75%. So if we were to repeat history, a 75% crash would bring us down to it actually brings us down to support, which is scary. That is scary, because now we have confluence of this support, which would bring us down to 31k, 30k. That is scary, and that's still double where we were last cycle. That's very worrying, because I don't like when you have confluence. Now we have the M pattern. We have the 75% correction that took us back to support. That was the bottom of the first cycle here. Was the bottom of this cycle here. You know, is it going to be the bottom? No one is expecting 30k Bitcoin. No one. I mean, people are talking about 70k floor, 50k floor. 30k would wreck a lot of people, probably a whole market, which makes it maybe even more likely to happen. It would be the first time in history that we break through the CVDD, though. So that breaks our theory, and that's been very consistent. It would be the first time we come through this orange line with now mass adoption, right? So I don't think we're going to hit 30k. We definitely have some confluence there, considering we had a 75% correction. Now we have a lot more adoption. We have a lot more pension funds holding, nation states holding. They're likely to DCA, guys, okay? They're likely to buy. I'm just saying, I have a strategy. I always tend to try to have a strategy for either outcome. Now, let's be conservative, okay? So it's 75% correction last cycle. Let's say 60%. That takes us to 50k, which sounds a lot more realistic, right? 50k, having a 60% correction. Let's be very conservative. A 50% correction would take us to 62k. So if 125 was the top, I think 70k is out of the question. I think we'd be crazy not to have a 50% correction. And actually, I quite like that. I quite like that 60k zone, because it was the previous highs here, and you've got a lot of support here around the 60k range as well. And if that 60k range lined up with our CVDD down here, phenomenal, right? If we start to get into the red here, the CVDD hits the orange, we come into the blue zones, the SMC bot flashes a bright green signal, happy days, right? We've got all of the confluence. So do you see how easy it is to buy in the bear market? It's really, really easy. Not just saying that. You can clearly see with these indicators, you know, a kid could do this, just looking at these basic indicators. So yeah, really, really cool. I do think we might have topped on altcoins, guys. I posted this back in January. You've probably already seen it, but I've watched this back, and it was probably the best thing I've done this morning. I watched the video back. So, you know, go and watch it if you haven't. It's like near the start of my channel. It's like why I'm selling altcoins. And watching this back really made me realize that, yeah, it's hard to do at the time. It's hard to sell when everything's at all-time high. Like Solana was all-time high. Altcoin was at all-time high. Trump was like up 10, 20x. It's hard to do at the time, but looking back, I was like, oh yeah, it makes so much sense.
Look at the state of the market. Altcoin, top performer. Trump, Melania, top performer. Trump and Melania, insiders, siphoning money out of the market. Now, what else do we see here, guys? We see the whole market is red. Now, this is one of the biggest signals, I'd say, along with the smart money signals that I had. to take some profits off the table and de-risk. I'm up on Casper I'm up 13x, 1,300%. On Solana I'm up 1,000%. I only wanted to make 1,000%. When I got in the bear market, when I bought Solana in the bear market, I said I'm only trying to make a 10x. I'm at 10x. The market is moving very ruggy. I'm taking some profits off the table, a lot of profits this week, okay? I've hit my targets. I've done what I wanted to do. My average portfolio is done over 10x. I don't want to be sitting here in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months saying, why didn't I take profits? Trump launched a meme coin. So-and-so smart money were taking profits. Everybody was selling. The market was moving ruggy, right? This data is everything. What's happening here? Liquidity, Trump launched. The whole of the market's red. Everybody's selling to buy Trump, right? They're selling their other altcoins to buy this crazy degenerate meme coin because they don't have any stable coins on the sides, right? We know the smart money are almost empty as well. Even the smartest people in the space were fully invested into the market, and for good reason. Solana just hit all-time high. Bitcoin just hit all-time high, right? Sui just hit all-time high. What they've smashed it. They've invested into the space. A lot of things are hitting all-time highs. They're starting to take profits.
I tell you what, I wish I held that. I wish I held that Sui short open, because that Sui short really was the top of the market. That would have been phenomenal. I did take a lot. I think we longed Sui again. It came all the way down, then we longed it, and we made some long. The SMC bot nailed that Sui sell. Look, the SMC bot gave a buy down here at like 0.85 where we got in, and then we took this sell. Absolutely nailed that sell. Guys, if you want to follow us, if you want to join in, if you want to see my buy and sell alerts, if you want to see the new portfolio I'm building in the bear market, as you know, a couple of cycles, we've really nailed some of these portfolios. The first cycle we had BNB, Cardano, Matic as my main holdings, and they absolutely sent. This cycle we skipped Ethereum, we went with Solana. We didn't buy any Ethereum in the bear market, and Solana massively outperformed. We got Doge, we got Pepe in the bear market, massively performed. We sold it. I think we sold it around 10x. We've had a really good cycle, and I think hopefully we're going to have another good cycle in the bear market. And I'm really excited. I think I've made some mistakes this cycle. I've definitely made some mistakes. But I've done so much better than I did last cycle, especially with taking profits, like getting in early, holding into the euphoria and taking profits. And I think next cycle it's going to get harder. I really do. You see, like when I was saying don't buy crypto gaming, don't buy privacy tokens, I think next cycle is going to be don't buy many things. I think there's going to be a select few altcoins that do well. And I think some narratives are dead for good. It's going to be a lot harder, guys. And don't forget, we have 3 million altcoins now. There's going to be so many more altcoins, which is why I diversified into stocks back in January when we took some profits. I went into stocks, and thank God I did, because I looked at my D wave the other day, and it's up like 4 or 5x from where I got in, and altcoins have just come down like 70-80%. So I'm kind of grateful that I diversified, and I am going to put more money than I did plan to in stocks from crypto. I'm still going to have a pretty decent crypto bag. It's probably going to get bigger the bigger the crash. So I want to see a really big crash in crypto for me to get really bullish. The beautiful thing about buying things when they're 90% off, 99% off is you have to have a terrible cycle to not make any gains, right? Because if something's gone from $1 to 1 cent, you only need it to go to 10 cent to make a 10x, right? And that's come down from $1. And there's many altcoins that done that this cycle. Last cycle, they came down from $1 to 1 cent. And, if you bought that at 1 cent, 10 cents is 10x, even 50 cents is 50x, and it's still not back to its previous all-time high. So that's the cool thing about the bear market. If you want to join us, if you want to get the SMC bot in your own trading view, head over to my X, click this, search for this name on Twitter, and then click the link here, and then you'll see the link to join the Discord. It's a monthly thing, so you can leave at any time. If it's not for you, you can leave whenever you want. You're not trapped into a year or a lifetime membership or anything like that. If you're not finding value from the group, I wouldn't want you to be in the group anyway. And you just get posts and calls like this, right? I just post like updates like this, little trades I'm taking, shorts and longs I'm taking. We have a professional leverage trader in there as well who gives pro longs and shorts on Bitcoin, etc. So really cool community. If you want to get involved with us, jump in there. None of the information in this video is financial advice. Do your own research. Investing in crypto is highly risky. Investing in anything is highly risky, and you can always lose your money at any point whatsoever. So always do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't forget to like the YouTube video. Drop a comment, drop your feedback. What do you think is going to run in the bear market? What narratives do you think are going to run? What altcoins do you think are going to make it in the bear market? What do you think is going to hold up strong in the bear market and then have a really good bull run next cycle? And why? If you can, drop your reasons why, because I will add those to the potential research list. When we go into the bear market, I'll start doing heavy research into altcoins. There's so many things I want to see. I want to see teams building throughout the entire bear market. I don't want to see them dropping off. I don't want to see one tweet every 2 weeks. I want to see teams working their ass off. Teams going to events in the bear market. Because if they're doing all of this in the bear market, best believe they're going to work even harder in the bull run. I want to see marketing. I want to see Twitter Spaces from the teams. I want to see innovative developments with the platforms. I want to see new partnerships. I want to see the on-chain data look strong as well. That on-chain data doesn't tend to get very strong until you go deep into a bear market. That's when the smart money start buying, or they tend to start dollar cost averaging in the smart money. Actually, they don't snipe buys, but they tend to start DCAing in, which is phenomenal for us because we can start to see it's starting to shift here, right? Sigil Fund just started to move some of their 100 million portfolio into altcoins. Maybe they think the market's bottomed. Bang, the rest of our Glassnode data is starting to line up as well, right? So I want to see the on-chain data looking strong. I want to see the narrative still there as well. It's going to be exciting. That's it for now, guys. Until then, I'll catch you in the next one.